그때 훈련받고 그렇게 김정일을 위해서 복무하면서 우리 북한 탈북 난민들을 구출하고 이 일을 하는데 아주 도움이 되고 있어요. 지금 한 500명가량을 데려왔어요, 한국에. 진짜 완벽한 첩보전이라든가 스파이.
Imagine smuggling 500 people out of North Korea to freedom. It's a modern version of Schindler's List, perhaps not on the scale, but remember, North Korea has hundreds of thousands of people in work camps, and millions have been affected by a famine. Well, joining us now in studio is the documentary filmmaker behind this movie, The Defector. Ann Shin joins me now. Great to see you, Ann.
Great to see you.
It's an amazing movie, and I don't think that we've really come to grips with the moral blight of North Korea. When Schindler's List was made, it was about something historical, decades earlier, that we had all said, yes, that was terrible, never again. But in North Korea, the dictatorship there is abusing its people right now, right as we speak, and I don't think there's the moral reaction that we should have. I mean, I'm not saying it's on the same scale as the Holocaust, but there are certain similarities.
Yeah, you raise a great point. There are hundreds of thousands of people in labor camps who are starved and tortured, and many of them die in the camp. And there is no moral outrage because there are no images of this. North Korea is so secure and tight about what information it releases to the rest of the world. We're not able to see this. So we're also not able to see that there are, upwards of tens of thousands of or even hundreds of thousands of North Korean defectors who have escaped and are still trying to find freedom. They might be living in hiding in Asia, trying to find a country where they'll be received as refugees.
I want to show another clip from the film about how the dictatorship itself views these defectors. Let's take a look now.
Kim Jong-un takes the helm, and one of his first decrees is to crack down on defectors. Both North Korean and Chinese forces are increasing security measures.
첫째, 조국을 배신한 탈북자들을 철저히 용서치달라고. 탈북 난민들에 대해서는 더 악착하고 가혹하면 가혹했지. 지금 이때까지 올해부터 특별하게 탈북자들을 한 100명 이상을 chấp 배가세요.
It makes sense to me. I mean, a defector obviously would have a political disagreement with North Korea, could tell the news about how bad North Korea is. I mean, basically, that's bad PR. Internally, I mean, if word gets out that you can sneak out, you can get out of this prison, maybe others will try it. I get why they're trying to crack down on these guys.
Yeah, and they certainly have. Kim Jong-un's increased the punishment meted out against the families of defectors who might escape. And the statistics are that of the known defectors, in 2012, there were about 3,000 who made it out. And in 2013, the number dropped to half of that, to 1,500.
Now, where do these defectors go? So do some of them come to Canada, or is there a middle place? Do they mainly go to China? I mean, they couldn't really cross into South Korea because that's a very heavily armed, guarded wall. I mean, do they all go to China?
Most of them do, in fact, because of that demilitarized zone, which, I mean, it'd be nice if they could just hop south to South Korea.
But it's really like the Berlin Wall,
exactly.
There, isn't it? Yeah.
It's awful.
Is China really the only place out? Do any leave by boat?
Some might go to Mongolia, some might go by boat, but that's very dangerous and expensive. Yeah. The easiest way is to swim across the river that runs between North Korea and China, and to make it into China. Many people do this in the wintertime, just carrying a satchel of clothes.
And once they're in China, what happens? I mean, obviously, there's a language barrier, isn't there? So if you're a North Korean who manages to get across into China, what then? I mean, you'd probably stick out pretty well.
Yes. Luckily, there are some Korean-speaking Chinese who live in northern China. There is a lot of mixture that happened over the centuries of the Chinese and Koreans. So there is that kind of
Is it like an underground railway, like there were to smuggle slaves out of the States? Is that going on in China?
There is a lot of, like an underground network of people, missionaries, NGOs, and people called brokers who are kind of like human smugglers who are hired to do the risky parts of helping these people get to freedom.
But that's a good kind of smuggling. I mean, smuggling a slave out of the Deep South would be a noble effort, just like Schindler's smuggling was a noble effort. Do these folks get help from Canada, either from expatriate Koreans here or even from our Canadian government? I mean, I like how our Canadian government has started to speak up a little more for religious freedom, for example, and for minority, like the Coptic Christians in Egypt. Is the Canadian government, do you think, let me ask you this. Have you shown your film to anyone in Parliament? Have you shown it to any political or diplomatic leaders?
It's been screened in Ottawa, it's been screened in Washington, and it's been screened in the British Parliament. It's been screened in festivals around the world, over 20 festivals.
How's it been received in festivals?
Really well, really well. People have been very moved. The film raises a lot of issues, like the instance, the question of human smuggling. You know, one's opinion about human smugglers is really put to test, because my opinion about the human smuggler I was filming changed about 5 times during the course of filming. One point I thought he was great. Other times I thought, I don't know if I can trust him as far as I can throw him. But in the end, he pulled through for the whole group.
If a guy rescues 500 people from a prison, I don't care what motivates him. I don't care how much money he sticks in his pocket. I don't care what tactics he uses. As long as he gets those people to freedom, as far as I'm concerned, he's on the side of the angels.
And in fact, yeah, they're often the last resort, the only people who will do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're probably not going to get a Dudley Do-Right who knows the tricks.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's probably going to break a few eggs to
Yeah.
get this almond made. I haven't seen the whole thing, just some of the excerpts. I wonder, we'll have to talk to you after the show. I'd love it if we could get the rights to show this movie. Last December we had the 12 Days of the Sun. We had a sort of a film festival. I think this is right up the alley for our Sun viewers. If you have one message to say to folks watching the Sun today who care about freedom, who we talk about North Korea fairly often on the show, if you had one thing to say to those folks watching today, one call to action, what would it be?
There are a lot of North Korean defectors that are living amongst us in Canada, in the States, and if we can actually help them, that's one step towards helping, you know, those who have suffered. And one hopes that with continued lobbying, we might be able to see drastic change in the North Korean regime.
Well, I think you're part of that solution. Ann Shin, thanks very much for being here today.